everyone. This is Karim, and this is Michelle, my wife. Um, we are with Marriage in a Minute, and what we're doing is we have a special platform that we're trying to encourage married couples and singles who are planning to get married to share, encouraging words on marriage to encourage each person listening in. This is our platform, and we try to encourage healthy marriage discussions. And today we have a very special guest, Juliet Bodley. Am I saying it correctly? Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
Yes. Well, we thank you for coming on today. We really appreciate that. You could find, I'm sure everybody listening in.
She's going to tell us about all her platforms. I'm sure there are many. They should be. She's hysterical. My husband tells me I'm funny all the time. So when I see somebody else that makes me crack up and I go and I search for you and you make me crack up, it's like, because it's a story for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So but before we get started and you tell us a little bit more, I have a very, very tough question for you. I like to start with the tough questions and then we just get that out the way and we move on.
Okay.
What do you have against stringy mango? Why Julie mango?
That's a tough question, right?
Because stringy mango gets stuck in your teeth. And then I go come on to this podcast now with stringy mango in my teeth. No, it have to be a Julie.
The funny thing is that when she told me the question she's gonna ask, I said the same thing.
I love stringy. Listen, I was born in Port Antonio. I was raised in New York, but man, that stringy mango. I like two mangoes. I like the East Indian, and I like the stringy mango. The
boring.
You don't like it drooling down your face and looking.
Well, all mangoes are really nice. If I'm being fair, all mangoes are nice. Yes, but it really has a special place in my heart. Yes,
that is so true. But you know what it is? She'll tell you the story real quick. How we came about, eating stringy mangoes.
Every single summer, we drive around Plantation, Lauderhill. And we'll just go knock on doors at trees and we're like, hey, can we pick up mangoes? So we go mango bush every single summer.
Yep.
Really?
Like we've been doing this for like maybe 10 years.
Yeah, it's a tradition of ours.
Yeah. And we just grab bags and we go to people's house and we grab mangoes. So I love mangoes.
Nice.
Especially stringy mangoes.
Yep. Yes.
All right. So now we've been married for 23 years and like we tell people all the time that a big thing about us, we want to have people have healthy discussions in their homes, because I think that's one of the big deal where people aren't having healthy discussions in their families or in their marriages. And my husband, his name is Karim, but I told you he's Jamaican. He got about 4 names. It's Karim, O'Neill, Anthony Hyatt. So I call him O'Neill. So if I refer to him as O'Neill, that's why, right? So he had all his uncles and aunts. Everyone was married in his family. Now he meets this girl. Hardly anybody was married. How did you have healthy models of marriages as you were growing up? Did you see it in your neighborhood, at church, wherever? Wow.
Probably my classmates' parents.
Wow.
Okay.
When I was growing up. But no, one of the good examples of marriage now is actually my dad's marriage now, because he remarried a 3rd time. And his marriage right now is what I would call the ideal marriage. But when I was growing up, I don't think I had that role model of a marriage in my head. I just saw it as something probably painful. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Painful.
And something to avoid.
Yeah.
Avoid? You avoid it, you said?
No, I saw it as something, as a little girl, I saw marriage as something painful and something to avoid.
Oh, wow. Gotcha.
Wow,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah. And I'm sure that must have been an experience when you were younger growing up, because a lot of times we look at marriage now when we get older based on how we see it growing up, And like Michelle said, I grew up in a family where pretty much all my, uncles, aunts, my grandparents, all married for hundreds of years. And she grew up in a family.
Hundreds. Hundreds, okay? Hundreds.
That kind of give you an idea how old I am. But no, but yeah. So it's a difference in how you grow up
Yeah,
and how you see it. But
yeah,
um, I'm gonna ask a question. There is a, I call it a myth, or what's the right word? It's a fairy tale kind of thinking
yeah.
that you're gonna live happily ever after when you get married. What do you think about that? What's your thought process on that?
I don't think anybody, as a single person, I don't think any single person has that idea that it will be a fairy tale ending. I think one of the challenges a single person will face is that yes, there are problems in every arena. You have problems when you're single, you have problems when you're married. Some self-aware single people are ready to say, okay, I am ready for the problems that are involved in marriage. I no
Right.
longer want the problem of being single. So in all fairness to single people, none of us think that it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And even as a child or a teenager growing up, we don't have that impression that it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that is good. That is a good way to
yeah.
look at it. Some people, and I can't talk for everybody, but some people do have like this thought that everything's gonna be great when you get married. Everything's gonna be so
For better,
hunky
for
dory.
worse, for sick and
No, it's
health.
not really hunky dory. It's just that it will fix certain needs.
Ah,
So, and then what will happen is that it will fix certain needs, and then you'll have other needs to that you'll need to satisfy. But it's
Right,
just that it would be viewed as better than being single based on the desire to marry. If you have a desire for a car, it's better you have the car than to not have it. If you have a desire for a
yeah,
house, it's better to have the house than to not have
very
it.
true,
But
very
it's
true.
not that you're thinking that you won't have to pay for the house. It's not that you're thinking that you won't have to upkeep the house. You have to have, what is it, HSA or something, like housing.
yeah, yes,
You have to pay that fee. It's not that you don't think
Yeah,
you have to pay your property taxes. It's not that you
yeah,
don't think that you
yeah.
won't have to,
yeah,
and that's the effort that you would put into the house.
That's the reality.
And
Yeah,
you,
that's the
right.
reality.
So it's the same thing. Being single, we view marriage as a better place. If we have the desire, then we view marriage as a better place. We're not saying it's gonna be hunky dory. We're
Right.
right.
saying that we are ready for the responsibility, the good and bad associated with marriage. I think it's a sober decision or a sober desire on the part of most single people. Single people are very misunderstood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
you're here to set the record straight.
yes. So if you're single, you're out there listening in, you heard
Yeah,
what Julie Mango lady said. What's that called?
Julie Marmalade. Listen, bring two mango to the dinner table, and whoever finish eating first and throw the seed, problem resolved. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But one big thing for me, as I think before we got married, was it was a problem for me that so many people in his family were married, because I'm just like, wow, how am I gonna, that expectation in my head, like, how are we gonna do this, right? Because I've never seen it. There was no model. But one big thing I have is the 50-50. Like, people think, and I see it now. Before I got married, I used to use that 50-50 term. What do you think about this 50-50? And how do you measure 50 if I've got a distance issue? You know what I mean?
You mean 50-50 when it comes to marriages?
Just
Yes.
just everything in the marriage. Because for me, I
You mean
think
like bills and responsibilities and stuff?
just everything, just even the emotion,
So
even
um I disagree with 50-50.
me too.
I am old fashioned, and so I'm of the belief that both persons are to give their 100. But
Yes,
the, but,
ma'am.
but the 100 complements the other. If you're giving 50-50, then where's the other 50 going? I don't
Right, right.
That
So
is
it's
such
a
a
hundred, it's 100 of you and then 100 of the other person. And
Yeah,
then because you're both operating highly in
yeah,
your gifting,
yeah, yeah.
then it would just make a solid, combination instead of 50-50. Then it's half baked or half. Well, if you're
Correct.
baking a cake, you don't put 50% of the ingredients in there and put 50% of the heat. You'd
right.
have an raw cake. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
If
Yeah.
you put 50% of every ingredient, it's still not whole.
It's still not whole. And I wonder where we got that from over the years. People, and that's what I thought when we were getting married. I'm like, okay, 50-50. And I'm just like, well,
Yeah.
how does that work? You know,
I
like,
think I think it's a natural bent to when you're not married,
mm,
and of course, you're single and you're giving some great. By the way, there's some
absolutely
great
great.
encouragement to single people who are getting married to get married.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. But yes, I myself also thought of it that way as 50-50. But I think it's a natural thing to start thinking that way
Yeah.
until you actually get married. And then you realize, like you said, it's
It's 100%
each
of
person
me
giving
and
100.
100% of him,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's true. That is
Yeah.
really so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we talked about expectations, what do you think single people are facing in terms of not only just from their parents, but like parents want you to be married when you get to a certain age. They start gossiping, not in a bad way, or even friends. Like, how do you deal with expectation? Like, being confident, like when I am ready, like how do you manage that? Or your friends, if you have singles, how do you guys manage that?
I mean, so the challenges that we face, this might shock you, but the biggest challenge, yeah, the parents will pressure you into marrying,
Yeah.
but I promise you, not as much these days. These parents
Mm.
Mhm.
and my parents, when I looked at my dad and said, Dad, I want to get married, I'm like, Fiwa, what you want married for? You know about marriage? You come see you're born in a marriage? What you want married for? Listen, man, get your work and look after yourself and nobody depend on nobody. You hear me? If you need
Yeah.
to change your tire, learn to change your tire. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
so there are parents who are quite okay with their children not marrying. So that pressure is 50-50. Now I'll address the real pressure, and that is society. So like as
Yeah.
a woman, the older you get, you are mimicked or ridiculed
Mhm.
or berated for being single. You have comments like you're left on the shelf, or
Mhm.
something must wrong with her. Maybe she's crazy, or maybe she's independent. Maybe she's not feminine enough. Maybe she's too
Yeah.
masculine. Maybe she's too this, too that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so society, it makes it very hard for a single woman to feel like a full woman, or to feel
Yeah.
like 100% if she
Yeah.
hasn't reproduced, and especially if she hasn't married. If you
Yeah.
look at a lot of the what's the plural of fracas, I don't know.
Fracas.
If you look at a lot
Well,
of the
we'll call it fracas for now.
oh yeah, if you look at a lot of the disagreements among women in society, the winner is always the one that captures the man.
Mm.
And then if the
Mhm. Very
person leaves
true.
without the man, then
Yeah.
she not good. All parts of her are
Loser,
not good.
loser. Yeah.
Um, she can't
Yeah.
hold stuff like the Jamaican vernacular, and
Sure,
it
sure.
translates into our brain, as
Yeah.
Mm.
Jamaicans, and it's not just Jamaica, it's worldwide. That's the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
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 So society really makes it hard, harder than the
Mhm.
parents
Mhm.
for a single woman. For a single
Mm.
man, society also does make it hard, but it's on the flip side, right? Meaning the more conquests that a man has, then the more
Correct.
Mm.
feared and seen as, and you can see where that can cause something even 40 years after your death. I'm not going to
Mm.
say what I'm talking about, but um, right. And so so there are thoughts that being promiscuous or having a lot of conquest makes them a man, and
Yeah.
Mm.
what men don't realize is that it affects them just as badly as the woman, but in a different
Correct.
Mm.
way. And that's why you have so many divergence of things, so many issues, so many problems that you
Correct.
can't, if you don't really look at it, you're not able to trace it to the fact that, hey, it's because society kind of clones you for being a single man at a certain age too, but clone in the term of praise. Now,
Right.
Mhm.
how do I deal with that?
Mhm.
Sometimes you just have to ignore the noise,
Yeah.
and especially for a person who desires marriage, is a little bit harder. But
Yeah.
it's because you have to ignore the noise and listen to the noise. So what I do is just keep myself occupied and just continue to be patient,
Mhm.
ignore the noise, and look into yourself and see what things you can do, like different things in terms of dating, in terms of going
Mhm.
out, and continue to improve on yourself. That's what I do. Just continue to improve and distract myself with hobbies, and
Right.
becoming better at who I am as an individual, you
Yeah.
know.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
Correct.
it's
You
one,
know,
it's really one day at a time. Some days are good, some days are bad. But that's
Yeah.
basically life, because even in marriage, some days are good, some days
Some
are bad.
days are good. You
yes.
know, I say when people say, because I think 23 years now, it looks like 50 years back then because so many people are getting married and divorced. And somebody asked me the other day, like, wow, 23 years, that's really long. And I'm like, wow, it for me, the exit signs are getting fewer and fewer
Mm-hmm.
because, at certain point when you get married, after a while, the automatic goes away. And then you've got to put effort in and you've got to be intentional that
Mm-hmm.
nobody told you about before you got married. So when you're going through those points, those lows, every argument becomes an exit point. But as
Yeah.
you stay with it, and because if you leave and go out, you're gonna meet
Mhm.
somebody with issues and you've got
Mm-hmm.
issues. We're none of us are perfect. I think sometimes we go, but just you made a point before about like the women feel like they're on the shelf or whatever. Do you think that put women in competition with each other? Because I think the worst woman's worst enemy sometimes become themselves. Like we become our own worst enemy because we become in competition with each other over a man or whatever, just because of what society might put on us, like, oh, he didn't want you, but he wanted her or whatever. Now you're trying to be not the best version of yourself, but trying to put yourself on display for somebody else.
Absolutely. That causes competition among women. The whole, okay, she got him or whatever it does. And also the narrative, the false narrative that that men are short, meaning the percentage
Mhm.
of men to women is short. That's a narrative that sometimes I've done some research
Uh-oh.
and I
Tell me.
have come to find that that narrative is not exactly true. There's like a 50-50 balance. And I know anybody listening going to Google it. Go ahead and Google it. And so there's that. And then there is the whole competition. Okay, I want to do better than her. And that's because of how that's strictly because of society. I mean, we are the ones that make up society. But that's strictly, yeah, it does
Mhm.
cause competition.
Yeah.
Mm,
Now,
definitely.
let me ask you this. Since you are so, and we've got 5 minutes left, and we want to again thank you for your time. But before we go, so how much of that point that seems like it was painful, like you said in the beginning when you see marriages, do you ever put that, how do you translate that into funny? Like you are hysterical, like the stuff you do, you write for yourself? Do you make fun of, are you at the point where you could make fun of like your mom and dad or your parents as it was? Like do you put that in your skits, like?
Certain aspects, no, I'm not at the point where I can make fun of it. Not because I'm not over it, but because it would be straight inappropriate.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to. But there are aspects of my childhood, in terms of my parents, like mommy, daddy, the little funny things that they would do. There are aspects that I can, turn into comedy because it was funny originally. But in terms of seeing like painful examples of marriages, I didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah.
It just lodges in your subconscious, and that's what happens with a lot of people based on
Yeah.
the childhood that they had, the things
Yeah.
that they experienced. It lodges in their subconscious, and then they grow up and have certain behavioral patterns just because of it, or their response mechanisms are just because of something that happened in their childhood. And so I didn't really do anything with, I didn't process it. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Especially coming up in the church, like, and
Yeah.
one of the issues with where the church have failed single women is
Yeah.
they only teach us how to not date or who to not date. They don't actually
Yeah.
teach you how to date.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't actually teach you how to be feminine, or how to what do you do on a first date, or
Mhm.
when to not be boisterous, when to not be aggressive. All they do is tell you, if he comes to you with this, block him. If he this, that's not the man God has for you. That's not the man for you. There is
Yeah.
everything is that's not the man. That's not the man.
That's not the
So
man.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
single
Yeah.
women will become very
Yeah.
adroit at fanning off everybody, and then they are so perfect, and they're looking for the perfect person, and
Mhm.
they're 70 and nothing.
Yeah. That's such a true thing. And with that said, what would be one word of encouragement you would give to singles who are planning to get married?
As in they're in the planning phase already, they're
Yes,
engaged and stuff.
yes.
or
Or
even
in,
Look
somebody who's
for
living in your single, and it's not it's I am not unhappy. I'm just, it's not a condition. I am single
right.
and living.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first part for persons who are planning to get married, my word of encouragement is look forward to it. Just
Yeah.
look forward to it. It's
Yeah.
going to be exciting. Don't listen to anybody talking about, oh, this is that, this is that. Look forward to it, point blank, period.
That's great. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the person who is living in their singleness, I'm not unhappy. I have a different, you see, I'm kind of very different from everybody else. I don't really
Yeah.
follow the narrative. Um, I don't know anyone who desires marriage. If they desire marriage, I don't know anyone who desires marriage and is truly happy single.
Mhm.
You are not sad, you're not desolate, you're not disillusioned, but
Mhm.
it is obvious that there is something missing, and that's, as I said, this might not sound like what everybody would say, because everyone would say, oh, you're single and you're whole and you don't need them, let God be your
Mhm.
husband. I don't subscribe to that foolishness, because I must wake up and feel so Jesus is my husband. That's creepy. So what I would say,
Jesus, take out the garbage from it, please.
right,
When you
Jesus, drive
finish,
my
put
car
oil
and
in my
drive it.
car.
Right.
Oh Lord.
So it will
Yeah.
not work. So I would say, as a single person who desires marriage, take note of the desire. Don't be ashamed of it. Date actively. Feel yourself. Um, you know, learn, just become better at who you are. Just become better in yourself and just keep hope alive. You will eventually, meet that person. But come into knowing yourself a little more. Date. Don't be afraid to look good. Fix up yourself and just
Mhm.
enjoy life and keep yourself occupied until that happens.
That happens.
And for the person who is actually happy being single, who doesn't desire marriage, then I don't really have any, because they're already fine.
They're already
They're
there.
already
Yes.
there.
Exactly.
All
Yes.
right, couple more questions and then we let you go. For me, who was your inspiration to become who you are today?
That's a
Being this
very difficult
funny.
question, because I don't know if my inspiration has who is my inspiration. I don't really
Like,
have
who
I
was
have
the funny person, whether in Jamaica or, like, who was like that funny person? Or when did you know you?
Oh, you mean in terms of being a comedian? Oh,
Yes,
okay. So
ma'am.
that would be my dad and my uncle. They are very funny, but I didn't plan to, come on a platform and be funny or anything. I was just being myself, and I've always wanted to go into acting, and so I just recorded it and posted it, and
Wow.
here
That's
I
Did
awesome.
am.
you, did you, I know this is gonna, yeah, nobody really expect this, but but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Like, did you expect this to happen? Like, nobody's talking about stringy mango or East Indian, but
I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't expect this to happen. What I was planning for is to, go in film, which is still what I'm planning. But I didn't
Mhm.
expect this on social media. So I'm
Wow.
pleasantly surprised,
Of
surprised
course, of
and
course.
grateful. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
I wish you all the best in your pursuit
yeah, of
to get into
course.
film, and I'm sure you
Thank you.
will.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
You're
we are
yes,
so proud of you, just that
yes.
you're Jamaican. And I think my aunt first told me, Michelle, did you see Julie today? And I'm like, Julie who? And she's like, Julie Mango. Like, and I'm like, no. And she's like, well, you got to look it up. And I think one of my favorite episodes is when you were outside, I believe, with your daughter and you put water on her. I'm just
Yeah.
so which was your favorite, and which one was your favorite? Do you have any
Actually, my
favorites?
favorite one is not very popular and it's very old. You probably don't even know it. It's the Tower of Babel.
Oh,
Well, I gotta
Nobody
look it
knows
up.
that
yeah.
one.
We gotta
I
look that
gotta
up.
look that
Yeah.
one
You
up.
will
I
you
gotta
will
look that
find it.
one
I
up.
promise you. It's
Yeah.
way, way,
It
way, way
cracks
back.
you up. It cracks you up.
It doesn't necessarily crack me up. It's just that I was speaking in the different languages,
Oh,
and
Oh.
it's just the the passing of the bucket that I did, and I said spanner, and then I said banner because of the singer. It's like for me, it was so clever, but that was a long time ago. And my editing was really off, but it's my favorite.
Wow. You're doing a great
You're
job,
doing a great job.
Thank
You
you.
inspire me.
Yes.
But thank you
Yes.
so much for
Yes.
this.
Thank
And
you.
I already told you, it's gonna get there.
It's
gonna
coming.
get there.
Thank you.
It's gonna get
Well,
there.
we want to, before you go, we want to, also give you an opportunity to share, because there are people
Yeah.
out there who want to still
Yeah.
listen to you and, watch you.
Where
and,
are you gonna be?
Yeah.
Just tell us.
All right, so guys, follow me on Instagram. I am Julie Mango. Facebook. I am Julie Mango. YouTube. I am Julie Mango. Twitter. I am Julie Mango. And LinkedIn, Juliet Bodley. So I'm Juliet Bodley, aka Julie Mango, and I am on all your and TikTok. I am Julie Mango.
All right. So the
All
only
right.
one with Juliet Bodley is LinkedIn. Everything else is
Everything is.
I am Julie Mango.
I am Julie.
That's great.
Yes.
Okay.
Not
All right.
I am stringy mango. I am
Julie
Julie
Mango.
Mango.
Yes.
It's
All right.
nice
All right.
having you. We're
Nice talking to
grateful.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. We really
All
appreciate
right.
you.
All right.
So,
Thank
God
you.
so
bless.
there you have it. This is Marriage in a Minute. Join us next time. Check out our website, www.marriagevantagepoint.com. All right. And thanks again, Juliet. Have a great rest of your evening.
You
Thank
too.
you.